Welcome back to the Howler Podcast. I'm Chelsea.
I'm Mary.
And it is June. We are halfway through the year. We're starting at the halfway.
We're at the very end of the first half of the year.
Yes. By the end of this month, we'll have made it halfway through the year.
Which is absolutely wild. You know, that's what I say at the beginning of every podcast. You're like, oh, it's May. I'm like, that's wild.
You know, as I was like setting up my laptop and my mic and stuff before we joined, I was just running through like, oh, it feels like I haven't done this in a while. How do I start again? And then I thought, oh yeah, welcome to the podcast. And then in my mind, it was it's March. I was going to say, I can't believe it's March. And it's June.
I feel like I always say I never know what year it is, what month it is here at Arctic Wolf, because we're always working on things in the future, but also we're like referencing the past. And then I'm like, so is it 2026? Is it September? No, it's actually May.
Literally. When I first started here, the fiscal year thing really confused me, but we're there now.
Yeah.
It took some time.
Well, basically, I think it's 2026 at all times.
Yeah.
For those of you outside the pack, our fiscal year 26 just started, even though 2026 isn't until next year. So we're already in the future, hence why I never know what year or what month it is. I don't know if anyone can relate, but I mean, I feel like you are probably feeling the extra. You don't know what way is up and what day it is since you just got back from your little world tour.
Yes.
Of the jet lag.
Yes. I'm not jet lagged at all. I usually don't have any issues coming back from the US coming back to the US from Europe. It's like going to Europe that I get jet lagged. But yes, it was so fun. I was gone for almost a month, which is a really long time.
Yeah.
So I got to do a week visiting our Newcastle office and got to see our teammate Amanda in person, which was so nice. And then I spent a week at the Frankfurt office in Germany, and that was my first time at that office. So I got to meet people that, you know, I've been slacking with for the past however many years. So that was really fun. And then after that, I met my parents in Scotland and did 2 weeks in Scotland, driving all over the country. And it was so fun. I was there for 13 days and it didn't rain once, which if you know anything about the UK and May especially, like the fact it didn't rain, locals were saying like that hadn't happened in like 60 years or something. So I just had really great weather. So that was really nice. And then for those that know me, they know that my favorite animal is a cow. And especially Highland cows. So I got to pet and feed so many Highland coos, is what they call them, coos. So I pet so many Highland coos, and they're just so friendly. And any cow I saw, we pulled over, and I pet them. And my whole phone album is just cows. So yeah, it was really good.
It looked like you were in like Chelsea heaven.
I really was. Like green grass, blue skies, and cows. And like gelato every day. And I'm not even an ice cream person, but there's something about a gelato at night.
Vacation. Like
on vacation.
Streets.
Yeah, like 8 p.m.
Seaside.
Yeah, it was just, I was having ice cream every day. It was lovely.
Well, okay, so interesting between the two of us, because Chelsea and I kind of had backwards travel. I started with PTO. I was in the Philippines visiting family and then came back as Chelsea left for Europe. And then I went to Minnesota. And then I was in Canada.
Yes.
In the last month, between the two of us, we've been at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our 10 offices.
Wow.
Okay. So here's something fun though. I was thinking about, I've only been to our Newcastle office once, but a very interesting revelation I had when I was there is, if you follow Arctic Wolf on LinkedIn or if you're part of the pack, you probably have seen that we howl. Like, it's not just a cute thing we say we howl. Like, we literally howl. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's this like quirky thing that unites our culture. So when I was in the Newcastle office, I would like reference the howl or like, oh, we should howl. And I just had, at first I was just like kind of caught off guard with like the reactions. It was subtle because I think people like didn't know me yet. They were trying to read the room and be like, oh, we don't want to disappoint Mary, or oh, it's Mary who we will experience.
Yeah.
The funniest reactions. And then one night at a happy hour, I learned that nobody in Newcastle howls.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally, if we're howling on a Zoom meeting, they make the motion. Like they go through the motion, but they don't actually make the sound, which is, I was like, oh my God.
That's weirder. That's weirder and more awkward. Just to like open your mouth and not make noise. Like that's so weird.
Weird. But when I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, I have just like stumbled upon like the craziest, like, not a mystery, but like, I don't know, just like, oh my gosh, look what I've stumbled upon, this like crazy information. Well, fast forward a year, I feel like, so when I was there, I tried to get them to howl, but literally I was unsuccessful.
Yeah.
But I feel like from all the videos and such I was seeing, it seems like the UK pack loves to howl now. What would you say? What's your take on that?
I think love is a strong word. I think that they're more open to it. And I think we have some newer personalities there that are maybe just like, yeah, whatever, do it. But I think in general, like I think if you get them one-on-one and you're like, oh, howl, and like no one's around, they'll do it. But like, I feel like in a big group, they're also just kind of like looking around because they don't want to be the only one that does it. You know, when it's like 3, 2, 1, and then if no one howls, then I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but I will say there wasn't much howling when I was there this last time. But they're all always down to make like really fun videos for the pack and like be silly and goofy. So I don't really know like where the disconnect between that and howling is. But similarly in Germany, I don't know if you had that situation when you were in Germany, if they were howling when you visited Frankfurt, but there were like a couple times where I was like, is everyone going to howl? But then they definitely howl there.
Okay. Yeah, totally. I did not have the same thing in Germany. And I was just thinking, I did visit Germany first last time. So maybe they were just being so kind of like, okay, Mary wants to howl, so we're going to do it. But I mean, let's just the record show. When I started at Arctic Wolf, I thought it was weird. I was like, I can't believe we're doing this. But if you're new to the pack, you just got to lean in and go for it. And after the first couple of times, it's really, now it's just like,
yeah,
being like, woohoo, like there's no difference, you know?
And just for those of you that don't work here, we just need to set the record straight. We're not like howling every 20 minutes. It's like we howl like when
every 4 hours. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, it's like we howl when there's like a big win or we just had like a really inspiring team meeting or something. Like I howl maybe, I mean, you and I are different since we do onboarding. So technically we're howling like every 2 weeks. But outside of that, I mean, I maybe howl like once a month.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
You know, like
if you want to join us, it's an overcomable hurdle.
100%. 100%. I'd be curious to ask our guest how often he howls / how often his team howls.
That's true.
Because I feel like, yeah, I feel like in sales they howl a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll have to ask Todd.
Yeah. Speaking of our guest, Todd, we are going to sit down today with Todd Warner. He is our Senior Vice President of Customer Success at Arctic Wolf. And in that role, he focuses on taking care of our customers and leading our customer success team. So throughout today's conversation, if you hear people saying CS, we're referring to customer success. With 10 plus years leading and building customer success teams and 10 plus years in various sales roles, he has learned the importance of listening to customers and working towards outcomes that best suit their needs. Prior to joining Arctic Wolf in 2017, he helped build out the customer success function at Code 42, which is where he first learned about the importance of customer success in a subscription business. Additional sales experience at Dell Compellent and a local MSP have also brought additional perspective to the Arctic Wolf go-to-market motion. Outside of work, Todd is busy with his family, a wife and 3 kids and a dog, and enjoys travel, fly fishing, golf, and reading when able.
Ooh, okay. I can't wait to ask him what he's reading right now.
Same. And also we learned another fun fact about Todd, which I'm excited to hear more about.
Yeah, let's get to the convo so that we can ask him all these fun questions. Okay, Todd, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
He told us before we started recording that we're his first ever podcast, which is very exciting.
That's a true statement, yeah.
If it makes you feel better, this is also Mary and I's first ever podcast, and we jumped right into hosting. So it's okay. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have so many fun questions for you, but we always like to start the podcast with either some sort of like trivia or would you rather, or just something that we know about the person. And we did ask around. We asked a couple people, like, what do you know about Todd? Tell us something interesting. And we're actually mixing it up for the first time. We're not going to do trivia. So we actually saved you a little bit on that one. We're letting you go easy. But we did hear that you have a swim spa.
You're passionate about.
And that you're really passionate about it. So we thought we would just have a conversation. We want to know more about this swim spa. How did it come to be? Did you grow up swimming? Like, just tell us more.
Oh boy, how much time do we have? No, I did grow up swimming. I was a lifeguard and summer counselor and things of that nature. So I've taught swimming lessons was kind of my job as a youth. So I've always enjoyed swimming. But the story of the swim spa, my wife and I were considering moving or staying in our house. We decided to stay in our house, and she said we should get a hot tub. I said, sure, let's get a hot tub. We went and bought a hot tub, but I wanted a big one. I remember walking into the showroom. I was like, what are those? And the guy's like, well, those are the swim spas. So we were out of Canterbury and Shakopee, just at a fair. So we bought one without like figuring out where we were going to put it. And so we ended up buying one and come to realize that it would not work in the current house we were in, just based on the size of the house. So we ended up moving anyway.
Oh, because of the swim spa?
Because of the stupid swim spa. But it's all worked out. My wife wanted to move, it's just kind of worked out. We kind of talked into staying. So yeah, my swim spa was probably a really expensive one, but I still use it.
Wait, so for those that don't know, like, what is a swim spa and how big is it?
It's 15 feet long and 60 inches deep, so you can like stand in it. But it's got jets, so you can literally swim in it if you want to. But I probably spend more time in it, having a beer and relaxing than I do swimming. But I swim in it once or twice a week.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my question.
It's actually a really embarrassing story that I had to buy a house, but they literally had to get a big crane and crane it over my house, and it was kind of an ordeal.
Oh my god!
Wait, why didn't it fit? Like your backyard just wasn't big enough, or?
Yeah,
we had like a walkout basement, and I would have had to put it into the ground, and it just was a.
So it was easier to buy a new house and have a crane bring it over than put it in the ground.
That was second place, I guess. But we're really happy in the house, and we've got a great backyard now and all the things. More privacy than we would have had, but it's kind of an embarrassing story.
Whoa.
Matt Michalski must have told you that story about the swim spa, because he always gives me a hard time about it.
Oh, it's funny. Well, Kristen was the little bird that put it in her, but she said that people do give you a hard time about it, so she thought it'd be funny if we.
Well, it's probably because of the story that I had to buy a house to make it fit, but whatever.
Well, I love that you guys just bought it. That's such a, like, when I impulse purchase, it's like a lip gloss at Sephora, but you're like, let's buy this humongous swim spa.
Yeah, it sounds a little pretentious, I guess, but it's really we've kind of been saving for it for a long time. Or like an addition and a porch we wanted to put onto our house. And it just became quickly out of budget to invest more money into the current house, and so we got a different one, which we actually really enjoy. So
okay, good.
It all worked out, but it took a minute to get there.
I was curious at that because I didn't realize that you could also just like sit in it like a hot tub, I guess, kind of.
Oh,
yeah, I didn't realize that either.
Only were like Olympic styles practicing, training in your swim spa.
Very clear, there's not Olympic anything in that swim spa.
I envisioned I had like a montage of you every day, like training in your swim spa, like doing. So how often would you say you actually like do the swimming in it?
Once or twice a week, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so Todd, you live in Minnesota. Do you go in the winter and just warm it up, or
year round? It's got a cover on it. It heats to like 100 degrees. So.
Okay. Wow.
Not the cheapest of appliances from a energy efficiency standpoint.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
But the kids use it all the time with their friends, and
nice.
I use it quite a bit, so it gets used.
Okay.
Stupid swims.
Well, okay. Well, so to take like off the swim spa for a second, your lifeguard days, how many lives have you saved?
Like 3 officially.
Okay.
I mean, there was pulled a bunch of kids out or whatever, but I had to perform CPR once and mouth to mouth a few times.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh. Were you scared in the moment or were you really calm?
It's just kind of like reflexes, like no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of there, but yeah.
Were you a lifeguard at a pool or at a lake or at a
municipal swimming pool? And then I did some time on a few lakes as well.
Okay.
That is so cool. Let literally 3 people walk the earth today because of.
Well, I don't know if they're still walking. They walk
here. Hopefully they're still walking the earth today.
They did for a while. I can confirm that.
Wow, and their families got that. That is, yeah. Pools can be the water is like so amazing, but can be so scary.
Yeah. Dang. Okay. Well, thank you for entertaining us with your swim spa story. What was the timeline? Like, was this like last year? How long have you had the swim spa?
I think we bought it in 2019 and we moved into our new house in July of 2020.
Okay. And I mean, if you're still using it twice a week, I'd say that's a pretty good investment. Like, it's not like it fell off,
Yeah.
No, it's not just sitting there. So that's a good thing.
Good.
Totally.
All right. Last question about the swim spa. Would you recommend someone buy a swim spa?
Well, if you think you can use it, if you think you're going to use it, sure. But if it's just going to sit back, they're not a great investment. So I almost feel guilted to use it, just because of the whole ordeal. So
were you kind of annoyed with the salesperson that they didn't say like, hey, FYI, you're going to need this much space and to dig a hole and to hire a crane?
I asked the questions. We could have put it above ground, but it was too tall, and then we couldn't fit a deck. I just went to worked in the backyard, so it was like, I don't blame the salesperson. I was very much a obnoxious buyer.
Okay.
That was very gracious of you.
No, they said you don't have to pay for it until it gets delivered, but you're gonna have to pay for it eventually. So I had to get it delivered at some point. We just waited a year.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
I don't blame the sales guy for once. Blame myself.
Okay. Well, so it sounds like verdict's still out on if we'd recommend a swim spa. I guess it just depends on your circumstances, but otherwise, a hot tub probably would just work.
Yeah, that probably would have been better, in hindsight. But
Okay. Well, let's transition and talk a little bit more about you and how you got to Arctic Wolf. So we're gonna go even further back than your lifeguarding days. We want to know when little Todd was a little boy. What did he want to be when he grew up? Like, what did you envision? And then kind of take us on a journey. How did we end up here at Arctic Wolf leading customer success?
Yeah, how much time do we have? No, when I was younger, I grew up down southeast Minnesota. So my dad worked at Mayo, and my mom was a nurse. So medicine was always kind of in our family. So I'd always kind of want to pursue I was pre-med in college, and biology and chemistry and all that stuff. And I wanted to go into medical school, and I ended up getting into medical school, decided not to go.
Wait, why did you decide not to go?
I was tired of school. I think that's really what it came down to. Kind of wanted to get out in the world, if you would. Kind of tired of the school. And I pinned it for a year and went back and was not able to get in my second year, at least, to the school that I had gotten into. So I just decided a plan B. Get into sales seemed like the right thing. I'd kind of been told over my life, like, you'd be good at sales. And so I just started, looking for sales jobs. And
wait, sidebar, what did you do your undergrad in?
I was biology and chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah. Pre-med, yeah.
And then you were just like sales naturally.
No, I really didn't know why or how. I'd started selling computers at a Gateway Computer Stores as a part-time job as I was going to school and volunteering and everything you had to do to get into medical school, and I did well, but it was retail. And eventually, when Gateway closed, joined an MSP VAR based in Bloomington at the time, and worked there for a long time, and just moved over to the vendor side when after Dell acquired Compellant. And that's where I met a lot of people that still work here. Will Briggs, Matt Bykowski, Nick. There's still a little bit of DNA at Arctic Wolf there. So I moved to the vendor side, And then from my days at, after the years at the partner, and then Compellant, I was there for a handful of years, and then went to Code 42. Nick actually hired me at Code 42 as kind of like an account rep. So I did some sales roles there and channel. And then eventually they stood up a customer success department, and I helped build out, I was hired as a leader on the CS team, and I helped build out that customer success team and kind of business at Code 42. I realized I really liked it, and knew I wanted to pursue that moving forward. And then, as things kind of happened, all that were devolved at Code 42, I was looking for other jobs and had another job I was going to take, and got swindled into coming over to Arctic Wolf. And, that was 2017. Been here, obviously, ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say that you really liked it and knew you wanted to pursue like growing in the field, what did you really like about it compared to some of the other sales roles you had done, and what about it made you be like, this is what I want to continue in?
I think for me, I don't know, it was a lot of just around like learning how a business works. And I think, when you work with customers, you get access to kind of really understand a lot of how a business works, like from accounting and, and finance to, it's got the sales motion. I like having a quota, believe it or not. It's kind of satisfies that itch. Working with customers, solving problems, working with the support teams, here we call them S2. But I think just kind of like really kind of that full circle working with customers. And I think, when you're in your subscription business, that's kind of like your lifeline, right? You're making sure you have customers that are happy, and if they're not, why, and collecting that information and reporting it back to the business in the most kind of like neutral way you can, I think has always been interesting to me, because you kind of like, you see all of it. You definitely see how the sausage is made, the good, the bad, and otherwise. But, really kind of, I think ingrains you into what the company is doing and where you sit and how you can help kind of move that along. So it's been a very rewarding, certainly very, very rewarding career. And certainly the growth here at Arctic Wolf is just kind of magnifies that reward, right? So it's all of the things I like about a lot. It can be hectic. It can be a little job can't be stressful, but, when you're in the line of fire, the tip of the spear, I suppose, when you're dealing with escalated, but it's also awesome when you hear everything you're doing right, or we are doing right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of get both sides of it, even though I feel like I live in the 10% of things that aren't working.
Yeah.
But that's probably okay. That's probably okay. And that 10% has gotten bigger over the course of time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's you got a great team and great peers and people. Since the beginning, customer voice of the customer, being hired when I did, and we had about 120 customers, pretty rare. I think for companies to kind of have that focus in customer success that early, usually it's a little later. So just kind of that it's always been kind of front and center and critical to the DNA of Arctic Wolf has been pretty special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious, like how much the cybersecurity industry plays a role in your love of leading customer success. Like if you were doing this in a different industry, do you think you'd like it as much, or like what are the aspects of cybersecurity that you really enjoy?
Oh, that's a good question. In the software world, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Again, it kind of gave me the taste or kind of like the first flavors of what it could be. I think cybersecurity, when I left Code 42, I wanted to get into something with cloud, something subscription based because of CS. I think cybersecurity was interesting to me at the time because it just seemed like a really quickly fast growing market. And I think just kind of being in the market, the demand for, as competitive it is, and really one of the ways you can set yourself apart is by how you take care of your customers. So I think kind of like the size of the industry, the total market, kind of what we're solving. I do think there's a unique thing about cybersecurity here at Arctic Wolf and what we're doing that has me very motivated. Growing from as few customers as we had to over 10,000 now is just still today just kind of like, what? Some days it's hard to believe. I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but it's very surreal, I think. Most days kind of like, because the job feels the same, but like the company has changed quite a bit. Actually, the job doesn't feel the same. We've come a long way, but it's some days are kind of like,
Yeah.
It's a fun one. Today's going to be a good one.
Do you
It's
remember
gonna
how
start
many customers we had when you joined in 2017?
like 120.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wild.
we had 120. Yeah, it was wild. We like we barely had accounts receivable. We weren't collecting, we didn't have any contracts. We didn't have really much anything built. So it was kind of like it's been pretty neat to kind of see a lot of the stuff. We definitely not me, but Burback and Jet, like all the people that contributed to what we've kind of built, and you still kind of see the makings there of like the early days. It's pretty neat to see the fingerprints everywhere, a lot of places. Yeah, it's been pretty wild. Every milestone's like, wow, 500 customers, 1,000, 2,500. It's just you almost forget about it sometimes now when you hit the milestones. Like, what is the milestone anymore now? I'm hearing 50,000, from executive leadership, and it's like, holy smokes, that's gonna be something.
Whoa.
I don't know if I can sound more Minnesotan there. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
But that's just
It is.
pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, it really is. I was going to say, so tell us a little bit about, we just interviewed Lisa Tatro last month and then Carrie Schaefer-Page the
Awesome.
month before. So for the listener, help us understand, like, those teams are also on the front lines and they're hearing customers. Tell us a little bit about a day in the life of the average person on your team, and how do their connections with the customer interplay but differ from our security services?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I don't have anyone average on my team. They're all well above average. But no, I love working with S2 and that team. Their team really, just to kind of frame it. I think we talk a lot about outcomes at Arctic Wolf. I think that team is really focused on the technical outcome, and the CSM's job is really to tie it to the business outcome of why they bought, right? There's usually a reason someone wants to get it. It could be just not to get breached. It could be for compliance. It could be they just got breached and realized they need more coverage and protection. They can't do it themselves. So I think, the key thing for CSM, what their job is really understand that business outcome of why they bought. That could be notes from sales or talking to the sales team or reading through the various tools we have about the sales cycle and campaign, and understanding that what that is. And then we've got a tight alignment with our friends in S2 from a concierge standpoint to CSM, where we want those teams working really well together, again, to focus on that technical and then tie it to the business outcomes. So the CSM will do anything from, they schedule the account reviews for customers. Let's kind of talk about what we've been doing for them, what we will be doing for them. We'll talk about roadmap, things that, the engineering and product teams are working so hard to bring to market, make sure that customers are aware that we're investing in our platform, that we're investing in them and more outcomes for them. So it's really kind of like being that voice and advocate for Arctic Wolf to the customer. And then conversely, when we get feedback, taking that feedback and being the voice of the customer within Arctic Wolf, along with really anybody who talks to customers, right? I mean, I think it's all our jobs to be the voice. So that's what the team, I would say, is focused on. And they carry a quota, both from selling more stuff as well as, from a churn standpoint. I don't think that the CSMs control churn, but we absolutely can impact it, making sure we understand, if our pricing is right or if things aren't working, making sure we're closing the loop on those. It's very, I don't want to say maternal or paternal kind of job, making sure we're taking care of our customers and giving the feedback. And then when we do give the feedback, I've always told the team, and I'll date myself here, but like, it's our job to be the Walter Cronkite of reporting the news, right? No opinions. This isn't Fox News versus, CSNBC or whatever. We got to report the news as factual as we can, because it really doesn't benefit us to give the wrong information back to the business, back to product, back to support, what's working, what isn't working, those types of things. So there's a lot of responsibility, I think, there, just due to the nature of our platform and how we're able to collect feedback. So we have a human element to a lot of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I think just getting that information from our customers and feeding it back to the business is a pretty big responsibility that I know the team takes really serious. I do too, right?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, because we need that feedback for continuous improvement. I think earlier in the conversation,
or what's working, right?
Yeah.
Like let's double down on what's working, and areas that we need to improve on. Let's listen at least, right?
Well, and I was thinking earlier in the conversation, I thought it was interesting because you said, I forget the word you said. I don't know if either of you remember, but it was something like neutral or like you need to like be that voice back in a very calm, like neutral way.
Yeah, you gotta like remove opinion from it and report the news. Report the facts. And I think with as much as we all look at a ton of different data here, we're a very data driven organization. I think that data drives impacts into where we spend our energy and development and whatnot, and that should help us in the long term. Acquire and then retain more customers. Right. That's ultimately what we're trying to do here, I think, is we conquer the world of cybersecurity, or attempt to, right?
Yeah, well,
Security, I should say.
Totally. Well, I was going to ask, like, on that note, kind of skipping around to well-being, but it can be hard to be on the front lines in that way of like, whether it's, I mean, getting really positive feedback is great, but we also want some of that more critical feedback to improve. Like, what are well-being practices, or how do you support your team so that when they're kind of in the trenches, and being that liaison between our product and different teams within Arctic Wolf, and then also the customer, like, are there any like rituals within customer success to like maintain well-being and not to lose your cool?
I mean, I think we could all do more there. It can be a pretty stressful job, but I think it's honestly laugh. Like you can't take everything super super serious, right? I mean, it's important to take the job serious and the mission serious and all the things that we as a leadership team talk about. But I think it's okay to laugh and take a breath. A lot of deep breaths. I know from myself, I get told I sigh a lot, but I think it's just kind of like that deep breathing that just kind of helps you refocus and just kind of move on to the next one, right? I think that, and don't get too high, don't get too low when things go well or go bad. Just kind of try to maintain an even keel as best you can and put a smile on your face. I think no matter what kind of day you're having, you start a new call, a new interaction with the customer. If you're wearing a smile, it's a lot easier. You have a better chance of having a more positive interaction on the next one than the other one. But I think it's that, and I think I think from like a mental anxiety standpoint for us, and hopefully across the company, but I know I have a high level of transparency with my team because they see how the sausage is made, and it does no good by telling them something's happening when it's clearly not, or vice versa. So I think having a high level of transparency, it's always been one of our core values since I've been around, and I'm glad it's still one of our core values because I think that's really a key piece to how we can maintain a level of well-being. If we're transparent with customers, you don't have to keep track of misstatements or any other things. Not that we would ever do that intentionally, but I think kind of staying level and smiling and laughing and work hard, play hard are all pretty key things to the squad over here. I don't know if that's really the well-being you're looking for.
No, it's helpful.
Probably walks around the building, got punching bags up no, I'm kidding. Quite like that.
No, it all plays a part. I did really, before we move on, I wanted to go back to the feedback piece. In our last episode with Lisa, she had a really good analogy. Well, we were talking a lot about feedback, and she had a great analogy about it being a gift. And then Mary added on that feedback really is a gift because sometimes you get a gift that you don't really want. And you're like, thank you so much for this. I'm going to give this to Goodwill later. That type of thing. So I'm curious back to when you were sharing about like, you obviously are receiving a lot of good and critical feedback, and you all need to be the news reporters when you're delivering that feedback to the business. Do you have a process for evaluating feedback? Like, how do you determine, what is critical feedback and things that we need to be sharing versus, maybe the customer is just dealing with something right now?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say where there's smoke, there's fire. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. I think that my process is like it tends to come in waves, right? So really, making sure that when you're getting the feedback that it's less on the emotion side, more on the data side, right? That we can tie real things to the feedback, I think is always important and makes it more relevant for other people who can and control those things. And then getting it to the right people. We've grown so much, kind of like filtering it to the right channel now has become a little more challenging, but I think it's really like, you start to hear, that that feedback pull is constant with the teams, right? Even like walking the aisles and talking to people, how's it going? What's good? What isn't good today? You just always got to have your ear to the ground on collecting the feedback, and then not just sitting on it when you get it, right? Sharing it broadly so that other people understand. Now, there is such thing as too much feedback too often, which I'm probably used to be guilty of, right? So just also being constructive with how you're sharing it and timeliness of it and the amount, because you could literally spend all day every day just giving feedback. So the process is I would say a thoughtful one, just from the standpoint of collecting it, putting data behind it, and then sharing it with the right people. Again, in increments that are not like, geez, is the world falling, or is it actually stuff that we can and figure it out? You kind of got to walk that line in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could imagine if I was in that role as well. Like if you're getting feedback and you're like, oh, this could help, like I could maybe find myself in that similar trap that sounds like you were once in, of like, I just want to let everyone know that
yeah, early days was a little tougher than it is today. And I think today's, call it the last 24 months, like it's very rare that we hear feedback that we haven't heard before. Right. And like, it's, occasionally here, there's a new bit here and there that we can kind of deal with. And that's generally people related. As far as from a product or capability standpoint, there's really not a lot of surprises, right? So it's pretty constant. The team just kind of validates again the things that we're working on and trying to make right, so we can continue to grow and serve our customers better. I think that's part of I would say the magic of Arctic Wolf, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've spent a lot of time talking about critical feedback and how we really look forward to make Arctic Wolf better, but I think it'd be interesting to talk. I'm sure you all are on the front lines of hearing really amazing stories as well. I think earlier you said like you spend a lot of time in the 10%, and I get that because we just closed our internal engagement survey, and so the last 3 weeks I've just been in like the really negative comments, just because I want to make sure we're not missing anything alarming. But sometimes that it can really skew your view when it's like, this is like literally 1% of the 7,000 comments. I'm reading these 100 that are not so great. But anyways, would love to hear, can we get out of the 10% for a bit? Do you have any cool, what's your favorite customer story?
Oh man, I was wondering if you're gonna. Those wasn't on the pre-questions. No, I don't know that I've got one favorite.
It's okay.
I think, yeah, there's been so many over the years, and I just think how we're set up with the concierge team, and I look at one of my favorite things that's happened to us, just kind of like the separation of duties between the SOC and concierge, and really kind of having as far as how we operate with customers, and just kind of defining, what proactive, left of boom, right of boom, or proactive, reactive, however you want to look at it, and just kind of the evolution of the maturity of the work that the SOC does, the enhancements we made to our pen test catching and how we contain, and just kind of how we communicate out is just so much significantly improved. And that leads to all kinds of good stories, right, from customers where, we might have not done so well a year or 2 years ago, and now we're crushing it. Right. And you see things like that when, again, this is feedback we brought years ago saying we should catch more pen tests, and kind of the mentality at the time was well, that's too noisy or too hard to do, and we want to be a quiet service. That's not part of, but we've changed our mindset, over the course of time. I think we needed to, and to see this kind of complete U-turn in how we behave, and that to me is and that's happening every day, right? That's pretty awesome. I think, hearing, customers that thought we did this or that or whatever, and people hear what they want to hear during sales campaigns. But I think having that human component concierge, and how they can overcome that and get customers to a good, as fun as it is to win, I hate losing, and to be able to turn a customer around, from a bad sentiment to a good one, which happens every day at Arctic Wolf. It's by some really talented people who care a whole lot about our company and their brand and what they're doing and their team. It's palpable, at least in my world. Right. Again, I could spend a lot more time recognizing it. I could probably spend all day, trying to find bits and bytes. Security Wins channel. I love reading that, because it's yes, you see these things that we catch or caught or did that we didn't used to do. right? 5-6 years ago. And so you just see that blossoming over the course of time. It's very motivating, at least for me, just kind of like, okay, even though you have some, like, we're still on an upswing here as far as how we pivoted in some instances, which is pretty neat. So I mean, there's been some gnarly calls for sure, but I would say like the good things we're doing far outweigh kind of those moments, because those moments are not one and done generally, but you get out of it one way or the other. You either turn them around or you don't. You move on. You can't get out from every one of them, that's for sure. But I would say by and large, the teams, just watch what the teams are doing every day is pretty neat. Or more than pretty neat. It's pretty cool, actually. Kind of see it all come together, right?
Yeah.
Lisa and that team does such an awesome job. It's just kind of like collaborating and working with us, and just always saying, "Yep, we figured out." I think that's just, you don't get a lot of resistance, which is just, I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Well, you're kind of touching on it a little bit right now, but we always like to discuss one of our culture tenets. And we wanted to talk to you about own the outcome. And I know even earlier in the podcast, you were talking about being outcome driven. So just curious, how do you live out on the outcome? And if you have any other examples you want to share of anyone on your team doing that.
How do I live out the outcome, or the team?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we come to serve customers every day. The outcome is, they stay, do they go, right? It can be that simple. I think, the other things that we're always marching towards is like the operating plan, and wanting that outcome of like the sales number that the team is given, the churn number the team is given to try to impact. I think you see that in, like, that is just kind of like 8 to 5, almost. It feels like every single day, like you have to step up, you got to have hard conversations, you have to be transparent, you have to leverage, you call it our core values, but I think it's just kind of like all our core values, I think, relate pretty well to taking care of our customers, which coincidentally wasn't a core value early days, being customer centric or customer driven, other than, I was here. But the fact that focus is there, the team kind of having these hard conversations and owning the feedback and providing it, I think is an example that I see from my team every day. And same thing, like I said, we work really closely with S2, kind of the same thing. We have to partner together, right? And if someone's not stepping up, we have to say something, right? And that's on both sides, right? It's not certainly just on S2, certainly on my team as well. It's because we have to take care of our customers in order to keep them. It sounds simple, but that is the outcome that we try to own every single day. Kind of a cop-out answer, but it kind of is the only answer in my mind. In what we do here.
Todd, I am observing about you in this conversation that you are really good at praising your team. I mean, you are constantly like shouting out like, "Oh, CS is amazing, and Lee's team is great, and us too," and like owning your part, but then also giving credit where it's due, which I'd love to learn more about. Like, firstly, is you seem like a really humble leader from this perspective of the podcast of giving credit where it's due and raising up other people's names. But yeah, tell us about your leadership philosophy. Like, what are core tenets to how you lead your team, and is recognition part of that?
Well, I could always do better. I'm a messed up middle kid, so I could always do better with recognition. But no.
What do you think? Wait, sidebar. Do you think because you were a middle kid and maybe didn't get recognition that you have like a heart of like, I want to make sure people feel seen. I'm going to make sure I shout out all the work.
I'm a middle kid. You don't get any recognition, right? No, that's the whole thing. So I'm not good at it. I've never had. No, it's just, I'm joking. Just being very sarcastic. But I guess no. Like I don't know. I would say servant leadership. Is probably the way that I try to lead. Right? Just kind of like being in the trenches as much as I can with the team, making sure I understand like the challenges they're going through, trying to make those challenges better, whether that's internally or things we have to say to customers. I think just like, the way I see it is like the team comes here every day on the same mission, to work towards the same mission that I believe in. So investing in them and making sure like you understand how they feel is the right way to do it, especially in a org that changes as much as ours, from the standpoint of always new curveballs coming at you, or good things being or bad things happening or whatever. Like, you just have to have that level of transparency and make sure the team knows you understand what they're going through, and then you're doing something about it if you can. And if you can't, you have to say it. And here's why. Here's why we're doing here's why we need you to do, or the business needs you to do what we're going to ask you to do here. And I think when you have that type of mentality, again, specifically in the world we live in, it just kind of fosters a level of trust that's pretty cool. And I think, like, of course I recognize them. To me, they're doing the hard job every single day, because they're literally in the trenches every single day. And I'm kind of like the, not barking orders, but the general on the horse in the back line or whatever, right? So you kind of gotta, like, I have a lot of respect for the work they do. I've done the job. A lot of us started here as kind of like the first person on their team, if you will. So, like, I have a lot of appreciation for the work. So, like, giving them praise is needed. Certainly love recognizing the team. I think they do a great job and great things for the company. I love for more people to understand that, right? I think it's pretty they're very quiet about receiving praise publicly, but kind of inside they're kind of like, man, I feel like we work really hard. So I feel like it's my job to kind of make sure that they get the call outs when I don't feel it is my job to make sure that the rest of the company understands what they're doing for us every day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you're
So
doing a great job of
question. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you're doing a great job of that on the podcast right now. So I'm excited for them to listen to it, because I think they'll be really proud to be on your team and the work that they're doing. Is there a piece of leadership advice that has really stuck with you? I know you talked a little bit about servant leadership. Like, have you read any books or done anything?
Leadership. What am I reading right now? I'm reading or listening to, I guess, when I walk my dog. Atomic Habits is what I'm listening to right now for probably about the third or fourth time.
That's a good one.
That book. But leadership. I've worked with so many great leaders. I worked with I was thinking about this on the pre-questions. One, I had a boss tell me once. She said, "This is early in my career, and I always stay late, which I tend to do here occasionally. But I said, there's nothing that you have to get done today that can't wait until tomorrow," which is, like, weird, because you think about that as procrastinating, but in some senses, for some things you're working on, it can wait until tomorrow. I had a boss that she always told me, know your business, right? Like, just kind of like making sure you're understanding what the people are going through, like, the data performance, all of the things that you have to really kind of internalize as a leader, like how it's performing, how it's not. Another, Bell gave me all sorts of great advice when he was here. Certainly when I worked directly for Nick, we've just been very fortunate to have great leaders. I think one guy who wasn't my boss, but he was an owner for this firm I worked at when I was working, for this MSP years and years ago, said, he always dropped that. I think it's an Edison quote. A lot of people miss opportunity because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. Mm-hmm. That one always stuck with me. Kind of like you make your own luck, right? If you invest in yourself and try to contribute around you, I think those are all, like, really powerful things that have stuck with me, and I try to live it every day. Those types of things. I've been very fortunate to work under some pretty tremendous leaders, so I think a lot of things have stuck with me, but those are kind of some of the ones that are with me at the moment, or I guess I kind of think about a lot, I guess I should say.
Yeah, no, that was great. I mean, you don't give, like, inspirational speaker energy, but, like, you deliver inspirational speaker content. I'm like, yeah, that was so good.
Oh, geez. Thanks. Thanks. You should read the emails I sent to my team. I'm sure most of them just roll their eyes, but it's just.
Okay. Well, before we get to the final fun rapid fire questions, we do want to circle back to well-being. I know Mary kind of asked you before, but I want to go back to this. Is there anything you specifically do for your well-being? And
aside from the swim spot, we already know about that.
Yeah. Aside from swimming 1 to 2 times a week in the swim spot, is there anything that you specifically do for your well-being? And what does well-being mean to you? Like, to your point, it can mean laughing. It can mean all those things that you talked about before. I
think for me, it's sense of humor, right? You can't take yourself too seriously. Certainly not myself. But just kind of like seeing the good in people around you and those types of things. I think for me, like, every night I try to take my dog for an hour walk. That to me is probably one of the highlights of my day. Just kind of like, either listen to a book or listen to nothing and just kind of like, fresh air and just taking a minute and just kind of like hopefully not thinking about work or taking phone calls or looking at my phone. I try to make an effort not to do that, but just kind of like enjoying, my dog and just kind of walking for an hour a day. It's something I've been doing probably for about the last year. Once you start doing something like, it's just hard you miss a day, you're like, ugh, what's wrong with me, right? And it's like, oh yeah, it's just a dumb walk, but it's just a good time to reflect, think about your day, think about what you have to do, and those types of things. I would say from a well-being standpoint, and then just spending time with my family as much as I can. One kid out of the house. I have another daughter about to graduate, another who's going to be a junior next year. So just trying to enjoy those last moments with them.
Yeah.
Missed a lot the last 8 years since I've been here, but at the same time, it's for them and that stuff. So I think just kind of like trying to break. I don't like working when I'm at home, as I'm sure my boss will tell you. I stay here late, so I just kind of like when I get home, it's kind of like, just try not to carry too much of that. No, some nights you do. It's unavoidable. I think just given the company and how we're growing and international and everything. But by and large, just trying to have that line of demarcation. And when I walk in my house, I'm kind of like. So I love that we came back to work because I like coming here. I don't like working from home.
Yeah,
I can kind of like my sanctuary with my spa and everything else. And I had to say it, or you were gonna say it. So just kind of having it.
Oh, that's so funny. What are your favorite things to do with your family? Like, do you guys like to play games or activities you do together, or you just like to hang out?
Well, my senior, she doesn't like to do anything with me, but like, yeah, play games. We like traveling, go to the cabin.
Okay.
It's I'll do whatever they want to do right now, basically. But it's a lot of running my daughters around to whatever they have to go to. It's fun, but it's just like I said, a house full of women right now, so I pretty much do what I'm told when I get home, which is good because I have to make enough decisions during the day. It's nice to kind of go home and be told what to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a lot of pet people at Arctic Wolf. So what kind of dog do you have? We need the details.
She is a 30-pound bundle of love. Aussie Doodle. She's an Aussie.
Oh, how old are you? Okay.
She's 7.
Okay, cute.
She's old. She's an old girl.
And what's her name?
Mildred.
Mildred, that's amazing.
Millie.
We call her Millie. Yeah.
That's so cute.
When she's in trouble and she's naughty, she gets called Mildred. She just talks about that.
Oh.
Super smart dog. Loves to play. Just fun. Good distraction.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I feel like we're nice and warmed up for our final rapid fire questions, which are similarly fun and more just about you and
which is my favorite
life, your personal life, not your work life. Okay, so first thing that comes to your head as quickly as possible. Best concert of your life?
Billy Joel, Madison Square Garden.
Wow. At MSG, what year was it?
That was in 2000, I think. 2001, maybe.
Wow.
Right around the pandemic time.
Dang. That was a special concert.
It was unreal. It was awesome.
Dang. Okay.
I can't believe you even had to pause for a second. Think of that.
Well, no, it's really not a close second, to be honest with you. Garth Brooks at Target Center, that was a lot of fun, but it was no Billy Joel at Madison.
Yeah. Okay, favorite word?
Ubiquitous.
Ooh, why?
You use it a lot?
Yeah.
Not a lot, but I like to say it when it's appropriate.
Okay. Do you like the meaning of it, or do you like the sound of it more? Like, what makes it your
favorite? I like the sound of it, but I also like what it means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fun. A place on your bucket list?
There's so many. I'd have to probably say Italy.
Okay. A specific place, or
either Italy or I don't know, just some villa, some place where I can see water and eat spaghetti and clams and drink red wine, probably. Okay. Something like that.
What was the second you were going to say?
Not like sightseeing, just like Tuscany countryside.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the second place you were going to say? You were like Italy or?
I've always wanted to go like salmon fishing in Alaska. I haven't done that. That's my other one.
Okay.
Those are like my bucket list, 2 of my bucket list places.
Okay, fun.
A few buddies or my dad, and just, they've got these nice salmon places you can go stay and lodge, and they take you out and catch a bunch of fish. And that sounds pretty fun.
Dang.
Yeah.
Not what I thought you were going to say.
What'd you think?
Maybe you're going to say somewhere in Asia. Because I just
like for some reason.
Yeah, because I feel like you said Europe, like you said Italy, so then I thought you were gonna be like and then it was gonna be like Asia.
No, I don't know. Is Fiji considered Asia? I'd go to. No, I don't think so.
I think I would like the Polynesia.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Maldives, sure, let's go.
Yeah, I just wasn't expecting salmon fishing in Alaska, but it does sound like it could be fun. I mean, not for me, but I'm sure it would be fun for you.
I mean, honestly, I think the way you said it, I thought you were going to tell us something like surprising. So I was thinking like yoga retreat and like something.
No. Oh, the yoga retreat, huh? Okay.
I don't know. Because the way you said it made me think you were going to like say something that we wouldn't expect.
No, I like the outdoors. I like going fishing. Yeah.
Also, I'm Googling if Fiji's part of Asia because I want to keep the records.
I don't think
it's not. It's located in Melanesia, which is part of Oceania in the South Pacific Ocean.
Okay. That's in the top 5 too, as well, I should say.
Fiji. Okay, what's something that people often get wrong about you?
I don't know. Probably that I'm hard to work with or short-tempered, maybe. I don't know.
Because you're sighing all the time? Or what?
Probably because I'm sighing all the time. No, I just think early days I was probably a little more fiery, so I've built up a little bit of a reputation there. I think a lot of times as we grow, a lot of times, have a lot of context as far as things we've done and what happens with customers, and I think some people are a little don't want to come to me because I think I'm going to slow it down, which I know I do sometimes, but for the benefit or for the doing what's right for the customer, sometimes you kind of have to be that ombudsman, if you will, and kind of say, well, we got to think about this, and you don't want to slow down the business, but you just want to make sure you're, again, sharing the right context of how things could lay out. So I think that's probably it's not from an intent of not wanting to partner. It's just fight for customers and making sure we're considering that as we're making decisions, I think is still something that we people may think probably less than used to be, but probably something that I can sense. But I don't know. People listening probably say, no, you're still kind of a jerk to work with, Todd, but who knows? Yeah.
I'm sure you're not. Okay, last one. Give us a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that has brought you joy.
I think I already gave my answer to that. Taking Mildred for a walk. Yeah. I think that's just kind of my daily, kind of fills my cup and kind of clears my mind, which is important to do. Otherwise, the stress of everything can weigh you down. So I think that's probably that and just, pride in what my kids are doing. Right. I think, my daughter graduating and going to college. My other daughter does really well in school and pretty active in theater and band and that kind of stuff, and she loves it. So I think just kind of seeing them happy is are pretty special moments to me. Yeah.
Okay, love.
This has been so great, Todd.
Yes, you survived. You survived the podcast. It's been.
How did that went crazy fast?
Yeah,
an hour. Was so much fun, right?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Oh, no, it was a lot of fun, actually.
Of course. Well, it was. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it was so fun to get to know you better. And I think this will be so nice for the greater pack to get a peek more. Cool. Like, if you're not in customer success, to have greater visibility to it and you who leads it. So I think it was awesome. And like I said, inspirational. I was not thinking. I feel like you would say that. Well, I don't work with you enough to know that maybe other people do think that you're inspirational, but I wouldn't have been like, yeah, Todd, he's so inspiring. But I was inspired.
I'm really uncomfortable with how inspirational you think I am.
Can't get over that Mary has continued to be like, I didn't think you were inspirational. I've now said, wow, I'm shocked. I'm shocked you're so inspirational, Todd.
So one of the things that people get wrong about me is they don't know that I'm inspirational.
That's what I was saying. And I'm not saying you're not inspirational. I just wasn't thinking like Oprah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, Jesus.
Or like, who is like a Tony? I wasn't, but then you come with all these nuggets. So.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Cut the mics. We got to end here before something else.
I don't know what to say on that, but thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks so much, Todd.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Wow. Another great conversation. It was so fun getting to chat with Todd. I ever really spoken to him on one-on-one before, to be honest. So it was really nice to get to chat with him.
Totally. And I'm adding a swim spot to my bucket list for a beach house someday.
Well, June, a fun month, the start of summer, later this month officially. June is also Pride Month, so our Proud Wolves have a ton of fun activations happening this month. So if you are with the pack, check out the Pride 2025 Confluence page, and you can learn more about ways that you can get involved. We also have Juneteenth this month, which is a holiday for those of us in the U.S., but also check out Beam to see what they have planned for that celebration.
Looking forward to a great start to this summer. We hope this finds you all well. We'll catch you in July. And if you want to join the pack, arcticwolf.com/careers. Bye.
Bye, everyone.